You're watching Ladies in the Locker Room. We'll be right back.
Hey, what's going on?
Hi. Not much. Just out here. California is really hot, so I have a bunch of fans blowing. So if you see my hair blowing today, that's why.
I love that. I love that the hair blowing in the wind. What is your temperature? We have cloudy rain today, so
Ooh. Is it like muggy though?
always.
Always.
Always muggy in Georgia. Cloudy, rainy, whatever. It's going to be muggy. But it's rainy, so I'm a sunshine girl, so I just have to deal with the rain. Anyway, how was your week? What do you have going on?
It was good. Just like we said before, is trying to get things started again after things are reopening, except for unfortunately LA County, they have a mask mandate again. So since I'm only 30 minutes south of that, I'm just hoping that this Delta variant doesn't spread down here and we're gonna have to go back to wearing masks. But beyond that,
you know what, we talked briefly about that, and I'm also worried about that because I'm vaccinated, and I have some family members that are vaccinated, but I have some family members that are just not even concerned. They just not worried about it, and I'm worried.
Yeah.
And with
that's the problem. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm just saying that is the problem because things are opening up, no mask mandates. So people even who are not vaccinated,
they just want to go hang out. So yesterday I went to lunch with my grandson, and we went into a restaurant, and I had my mask on. But as soon as I went in, it was open. Nobody in here had a mask on. And nobody was eating in it. It's like, I know they say you can take off to eat, but you still got to breathe while you're eating. But it was just really uncomfortable feeling for me. That it was a packed restaurant. There was so many people in there, and so many people did not have masks on.
Actually, just to kind of elaborate on your packed restaurant story, my friend was actually at Disneyland the other day, and that was closed for the longest time, and I thought they were gonna limit the guests, but she sent me some videos and pictures, and her like son and her daughter were the only people at Disneyland, and it was packed. And she said it was like packed, like pre-COVID packed. And you're just like, here we go. I'm in Anaheim, like 15 minutes from Disneyland, and that's not gonna help. Like with tourists are starting to roll in.
I believe it. I'm hoping that it doesn't affect us, but that's all we can do is hope and pray, because people are not being cautious enough and protecting themselves enough. They don't believe in the vaccination, but they don't believe in masks either, obviously.
Yeah. So, and dangerous combination if we look at other countries all over the world who have opened up too soon and kind of celebrated a little, or like a defeat of the coronavirus just a little too soon.
Yep. Well, India was one of those places that opened up pretty quickly, and now they are one of the countries that's in really bad shape.
I'm thankful. Like, thankfully, our government's sending over vaccines to them, but they have so many people. It's hard. Go door to door because a lot of people aren't even leaving their houses. Like, read something with New York Times, and one of their correspondents live over there, and they said we're so worried because to even leave our house because it's that bad. So
that's pretty bad.
I just hope and pray that we're not, like you said, headed in that direction.
That's all we can do is hope and pray, because as I said, people are obviously not being as cautious and as careful as they should do post-pandemic, where we may not be in the thick of it, but we're not out of it.
Exactly.
All right, well, let's moving on to some sports. So tell me, Lindsay, what do you have going on this week? What's going on in your sports world?
I have a few stories. I'm going to start with the All-Star game and then end with the NBA. So one of the things actually that came out kind of goes with what we were talking about is a few players tested positive for COVID after sorry, I think I'm getting feedback. Tested positive for COVID after the All-Star game, and it's just kind of one of those controversial subjects because you're playing a team sport, meaning you have to be around other players, and it's very hard to, if you're not vaccinated, to have any type of social distancing practices, especially in a team sport. So I just wanted to share that really quick because it kind of went on with what we were talking about before. But the main story I wanted to talk about is Otani, who is an Angels player. I mean, everybody knows who he is, but Angels are my team. Their stadium's really like 5-10 minutes from my house, so I can see the fireworks when they score home runs. But
when they score home runs.
Mm-hmm. And on firework night, they do have firework night now. But so Otani was, he's also a pitcher, but he was in the home run derby the other night, and he unfortunately got out in the first round. But it was a huge, like they went into. He was up against Juan Soto, and Soto beat Otani, but it was like it was a swing off. They each were given 3 balls, and unfortunately he was out after that because he missed his first swing. But Otani's furthest ball was hit 513 feet, and he had 6 home runs travel at least 500 feet, the most single home run derby since StarCast began tracking in 2016. Otani, also one of the things that I know a lot, I'm not going to get too much into it, but Stephen A. Smith came out and was talking about the face of baseball, and he was saying that Otani couldn't be the face of baseball because he has an interpreter and doesn't speak the language, doesn't speak English. And he later came out and apologized for that and said that's not what he was saying. But my point is that Otani is not only sorry a great baseball player, but he's also one of the first that is a pitcher and hits. So he did both in the All-Star game. But what I was getting to is that he donated his $150,000 he received to more than a couple dozen people, including clubhouse staff, trainers, members of the media relations department, and he donated his winning. He said he was going to do the same thing even if he won the entire home run derby, which he would have gotten $1 million for. Pete Alonso ended up winning. He's from the New York Mets. But my point was more that Otani is kind of, it can be the face of baseball, the things he does. And also the interpreter part is not because he can't speak English. It's because he doesn't want his words misconstrued, misunderstood. So I just think what he does and the player he is, beyond being a little biased because he is an Angel, can definitely be the face of baseball and should be. Anyway, so I'm gonna move on to a couple other stories. One came out a few days ago that Tom Brady played the entire last season with a torn MCL. He threw for like 50 touchdowns, and he obviously won the Super Bowl. But the controversy over it is that the Bucs didn't disclose that information until, like I said, a few days ago. And they are required to report injuries. And in the past, he when he was playing, they said that he had an ankle injury that was on the was reported week after week after week. So them hiding this, there's kind of a few different sides to it. One, they're saying that he might not get in trouble for it because he is Tom Brady, but at the same time, they're also saying that, you know, if they gave that information to the other team, maybe they would have gone after his knee. And but like I said, the league requires it. So that is kind of something that's pretty controversial right now, and it's kind of wait to see how that plays out. But it, in my opinion, on the positive side, is it is crazy that somebody who is in their 40s not only switch teams, but in the middle of a pandemic, won the Super Bowl. So that kind of, that kind of shows you a little bit how amazing Tom Brady is as a player. Another small little story I have is
can we just chat about your two things before you move on, and then we'll chat about the third one. First of all, let's talk about the face of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of understand both sides, and I guess if he watched enough baseball, he'll know there's a lot of players that can't speak English, and even more who can't speak English well. Mm-hmm. And here's my take on that. If baseball has decided to recruit these gentlemen from these other countries, put them on the team, make them members of the team, and they're eligible for whatever else that comes along with that. Mm-hmm. So if making him the face of baseball, he's eligible. He's on the team. He's playing professional baseball and doing all the things that you said that he did. Him having a language barrier should not affect anything, because it would be the same thing as if he were deaf. Or if he couldn't speak, he'd have to have an interpreter. Doesn't change what's on his brain and what's on his mind and how he plays his game. So, of course, I totally disagree with that. Everyone is entitled to an opinion, and that was just an opinion. And like you said, he came back and he retracted it and apologized for it. But at the same time, I understand what he thought he meant. Being in American baseball, it's American baseball. It is what it is. But American baseball recruits out of the country every single year. Baseball players come in from all around the world to play American baseball. So just because you're calling it American baseball and it is founded in America, that is not where all the players are coming from.
That's very true. It's a great point. And also, the other point was that he has an interpreter because he doesn't want to give when he's doing press, working with press, he doesn't want his words to be misunderstood. Like, I think even our English speaking, American, some of our baseball players should probably have an interpreter, just so
their English is that
stay away from kind of getting your words mixed up or not saying them the way you were intending them.
And then for a lot of the players from other countries, it's a little embarrassing to them. Some of them would like to speak better English and they just haven't mastered it yet. And at the same time, like you said, they don't want to start trying to say something and can't get it out. So, hey, let's let the interpreter do it.
I totally agree.
And the other issue, you wait a minute. What was your other issue?
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady. So let's talk about Deflate Gate and Tom Brady. Let's just tell it like it is. Tom Brady has been known to not only push the envelope, break some rules, and call them the Brady rules or whatever else is going on. It wouldn't be the first time. And yes, unfortunately, Tom, and to the coaching staff, unfortunately, in the game of football, when you do report those kind of injuries, yeah, sometimes some players will come after you, but it's part of the game. You still have to play the game fairly and correctly. And again, he did not. Now, he would feel really badly if they took that Super Bowl ring back from him and said he cheated. And
Mhm.
said it like, hey, this, you know what, we just done. You did something one at a time. We let you get away with that. No, there was another time where he was subpoenaed and they asked for his phone and he broke it. Just to keep him from looking at them phone, that phone. So Tom Brady, Tom Brady. Here
Tom
we
Brady.
go again, Tom Brady.
Another scandal.
Another,
Another
we'll see.
part that I was reading about is that there's a lot of gambling when it comes to the NFL, and people gamble on games and not just the Super Bowl. And when you don't report those injuries, that kind of it makes it unfair
For the gamblers.
for the gambling. So that's another part of it. And also, you could make the argument that other players would go purposely after his knee, but do you really want to be the player to take out Tom Brady? I don't know. I don't know if they would purposely go. I mean, if they're playing and they hit him and that
I don't
happens,
know. Maybe,
but like
maybe
I
not.
don't know. You might go down to like in history as I don't know.
Well, speaking of that, I have to tell you, my sister, my younger sister Sheila, never really been an athlete, but is a true fan, and she is still mad at the Atlanta Hawks for hurting LeBron. She is never going to let them live that down. They hurt the greatest player in the game right now. She says he was gunning for him and he meant to take his legs out and he meant to hurt him. And that's the way a fan's going to feel when something like that happens. And she will never, she's like, I will hate the Atlanta Hawks forever because they tried to take my boy out and they hurt LeBron. And they did. They hurt him and he missed a couple of games. And of course, look like what you're saying, that could have been the deciding factor as to why they didn't make it to the playoffs.
Yeah.
LeBron was out hurt for a couple games. So you're right. I mean, it is what it is. It could be a possibility that there would have been players that would have been going for his legs, knowing that he had that injury. And you're right, as far as the gamblers are concerned, they might have gambled a different way. Even though it wouldn't have mattered, he still won the game. But at least they would have known.
Yeah, exactly. They could say he didn't, and that came out, that would have been, I think, even bigger.
That's what I think. That is exactly what I think.
A lot of angry people.
A lot of angry people. So on to your next one.
Okay. Just a little small story about the British Open. DeChambeau blamed his horrible driving a few days ago at the British Open, and he blamed it on not himself or anything else, but he blamed it on his driver, the club maker Cobra. Later, Cobra came back at him and kind of pretty hard. And so he decided to apologize and said he said that out of frustration. But the next day, he didn't use his driver, especially not on very little. And first tee, he didn't. And basically uses irons all day. I guess kind of my opinion is if you're an athlete, you don't blame your equipment and make it and target the club maker. So,
well, see, here's the deal. In sports, you get to pick the equipment you want to use. That's what he
Mhm.
chose. So you can't use it and then turn around and blame it on that. That's the one you
Mhm.
played with. That's the one you've been practicing with. Like when
Mhm.
I played softball, the aluminum bat versus the wood bat, was a conversation that was being had at that time. And a lot of people felt, well, no, you got more out of the wooden bat. And something like, no, that aluminum bat helped your ball to go further. So, but when you were getting ready to play, you had that bat in your hand. It was up to you to decide which one you wanted to go with. But you can't go with one, and then if you don't perform well, stand around and say that's the problem. I disagree
Exactly.
with him for that.
Me too.
Disagree.
When kind of one thing that I did forget to say, because we were talking about the balls and all that type of stuff. The balls that they used for the home run derby, it was in Colorado, and they're the kind of some of the ones that use humidors. They did not put the balls purposely in the humidor because they wanted the balls to go further since it was the home run derby. So that was just a little side note that I wanted to throw in just for because I think I reported a few times on the baseballs. So they did not put them in the humidor this time. So
Okay. So the All-Star game pretty much went off without a hitch.
yeah,
After the whole big, it's supposed to be here this weekend in Atlanta, and then they moved it away due to the Voters' Rights Act, and so now it was being held out west, and like I say, it went on without a hitch.
Yeah, it looks like everything went pretty smooth. Maybe next year you guys can come back.
I don't know. I don't know when they'll come back to visit us in Atlanta.
Yeah.
They may be a little bit angry at us right now.
Just a little bit, I think. Yeah.
So we don't know. Of course, we would always love to have them. Atlanta is just really a host kind of a city. The whole city hosts when something comes to town. The whole city embraces it, not just the hotel industry, which of course makes money because everybody stays here, but the club industry, the restaurant industry, even the malls and the shopping. It is a host kind of a city. Now, what I'd like to see the Olympics come back here again. Actually, that's when I moved to Georgia, was the year that the Olympics came.
Oh,
And I
wow.
was like, oh my God, this is a lifetime situation. And I actually came, and I wasn't living in Atlanta at the time. I was living in South Georgia. So I had to drive an hour north to Atlanta. But myself and my same sister, who's a sports fan, she's the only one daring enough to go with me. We came up here and we did come and attend some of the Olympic festivities. And it was a phenomenal event to attend. And I hope that they one day come back to Atlanta. Like I said, Atlanta is truly a host city, so I'd like to see that.
When I was down there, I loved the Olympic rings that I got to see. So
yeah, a lot of greenery going on.
Exactly. Well, I mean, speaking of the Olympics, I have just a few things on the women and the men's basketball teams for this year, Tokyo. One of the first big stories was from Team Australia. Liz Cambridge had some shocking news come out that she was having some difficulties. She was having, I guess, like altercations with other teams, and one of them in an exhibition game against Nigeria. The team came out and said they were going to look at removing her from the team, but then she came back and told everyone that she was taking herself off the team, and because of she was feeling a lot of anxiety. She was on anxiety medicine every day. She was having mental health issues, and she didn't want to be in the Olympic bubble without her friends and her family's support. A lot of people came out and said that they thought that she was blaming it on that because she was going to be kicked off for all the altercations that she was having. But again, she also has been struggling. Like, her first attempt to get sober was at 18. So she has had issues mental health issues and other issues in the past. So if this wasn't the right time for her, it's kind of like what we were talking about last week when we were saying that if you're not ready and you're not a person that you think that could be there 100% for your team, it's a very hard decision because, you know, Olympics is a lot of people's dreams. But I think she made a move for herself, and I think we should all respect that.
Yeah, it's different when you participate in something by yourself. It's all on you. But when you're on a team and you're a teammate of another group of people, it's not all on you anymore. And the outcome is not all on you. So I'm glad that she removed herself rather than be kicked off, or if she needed to remove herself for her, health and safety reasons. I'm glad that she did that.
Exactly. Something that has been happening with the WNBA recently, their marketing is huge. Like, they have really, really, really good marketing, and has been growing the sport, especially recently in the past several years. Team USA, they had a all-star game, which was Team WNBA versus Team USA. So they had this all-star game, and there were a few players on the WNBA team that were cut that just a little bit angry. And I think they had something to prove because they ended up winning. Some people are saying that should have determined who should go to Tokyo, but bigger picture, there's a lot of younger members of the team, and veterans got sidelined for these new players. So it was kind of pretty big controversy. And one of the stories that came out was Nakia didn't make this year's USA team after playing for them for nearly a decade. And she, along with her two sisters, they have dual citizenship in Nigeria, and they petitioned FIBA to allow them to play for Nigeria's team instead of the United States team because they weren't chosen for the team. Two of her sisters were picked. They were allowed to go play on Team Nigeria, but Nakia was not. And also Elizabeth Williams from the Atlanta Dream, she was also not picked, but like I said, they all went and tried to petition to be on the team in Nigeria. Elizabeth Williams and Nakia did not make it, but they were they're pleading their case at this moment, and I think generally, Nakia has played for a decade, and they said after the age of 17, if you've played for another country's team, you're not allowed to play for another team. But they were saying that they're trying to grow the game, and since they're that would be better, I guess, for the sport in general to have more competitive teams, because if they had all the sisters plus Elizabeth Williams, they would be in at least medal contention. And so it's still being discussed. And it's definitely up to the Secretary General and
Nigeria.
and says what's best for the game. and if they can allow it. But a lot of people are saying because there hasn't been any type of medals from, I don't think any African nation has ever won a medal. So they were saying that if those 4 players went and played for them, they could have a chance and there could be more competition, which would bring up the viewership, bring up the interest in the sport.
Well, as an American citizen, what are your thoughts about that? One minute they're running for America, and then when they can't run for America, they don't run back, and now they want to run for their own country. Now, it's been known in the history of the games for people who were in America playing a professional sport to choose to go represent their country in the Olympics. That's not unusual. That has happened many, many times. But what are your thoughts about this one, in this case, where they were not able to play in America? Now they want to go back and try to play for their own country.
I see the argument with players who haven't spent a decade. She's been on Team USA for a decade. She's been competing for the United States for that long. So
Right.
I don't personally think, not that she doesn't deserve to play, not that it wouldn't help African countries to be in medal contention. So I think that is something we should
consider.
Consider, because I really like the idea of having, not just one team coming in and everybody knows they're going to win. So it would bring more attention, more kind of drama, kind of ratings, and build the sport. But at the same time, that's for people who haven't spent a decade. I think that's a little bit. I think that's a little long. Just because you're saying, okay, well, I didn't make it here,
so let me run over here and play.
So I'm going to run over here after representing the United States for 10 years. So,
well, like I said, I guess that's their prerogative to do whichever one that they want. Same thing we were talking about earlier about these baseball players. There's so many of them that are not from America, but they've been recruited to come here and play on American baseball team. And they've been Japanese and Spanish and all kind of different nationalities. But as I said, I've known in the past where some of them would opt to play for their country in the Olympics, not the American team. So we'll see what happens with them.
Yeah, they're petitioning right now. They might make an exception. I guess we'll find out soon. But at the same time, games are starting. We have this coming week. So it is going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how everything plays out. Coco Gauff, she's tested positive. She's a tennis player, and she was the youngest one to be chosen. She tested positive for COVID, and so she will not be going to the Olympics.
Oh my gosh, Coco. Oh, yeah. Coco, she's so young and so sensitive. Oh,
yeah.
I just hope she's okay. I just hope she's okay. She takes everything so hard because she's so young. And sometimes she's at that age, you don't know how to let stuff just roll off and keep it moving. So I just hope Coco's okay.
And hopefully come back in 4 years. But that's the
in 4 years she'll still be young. In 4 years she'll still be young.
It's also the hard part about the Olympics. It's because it's so far in between. Yeah, that it's not like, oh, next year I'll be fine. It's 4 years of training to get on the team again and
start all over for 4 years.
Start all over.
Yeah.
I think that was pretty much all my stories except for the NBA finals, which we had a huge turn of events. Starting with the Suns, who are at the games, and then Milwaukee coming back and winning the next 3. Home court advantage was a big thing before last night. But now they're going back
to Milwaukee.
So and this is do or die for the Suns. So there were, I think what happened, one of the things that happened is Milwaukee made good adjustments to and it started working out in their
favor. Mm-hmm.
And they started defending Chris Paul's like his pick and roll. They started playing really good defense. They started causing the Suns to make more errors and turn the ball over more.
And they messed around and let Giannis get well.
Exactly. And now he's doing very well.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I was like going to point out, it wasn't last game, but I think it was game 4. When Booker went up and fouled, he was going to be taken out. That was his last foul to give.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very obvious. Everybody could see it.
Mm-hmm.
And some people were saying, well, you don't take out like big players at the end of the game. You can't make that kind of decision. And
they made the decision to foul.
He did it on purpose too, because he didn't want him to get a layup. So it wasn't done.
Yeah. It wasn't an accidental foul. It was a flagrant foul.
Yeah, he did it on purpose.
So we all saw it. He did crime. He got to do the time.
Exactly. And he went back and fouled again, and that didn't get called. So it was like it's almost like, I don't know, just it's that type of stuff.
When Michael Jordan played, he had something he called the Jordan rules. And that's almost kind of like what he was talking about, where players were able to get away with hacking him to death and not get called for it. But if he accidentally bumped somebody, he got called for it. But the Jordan rules was something that they called it, that he complained that, that he was getting unnecessary flagrant fouls that just weren't getting called.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, they gave him a break and didn't call him on the first one, let him stay in the game. He went in and he did another one and still stayed in the game. And we're like, okay, what's going on?
And it's funny because Booker's the one that draws fouls all the time and goes to the free throw line. So it's like when he does it, like when people do it to him, they get called. And when he does it and everybody can see it, everybody could see it. It was that bad, and no call.
No call. Well, they called him the Kobe Bryant protege, but I can't see that just because of that. Nobody can ever have said that Kobe was a dirty player in any game. At any time, he was always a professional, and I would challenge anybody to tell me something different. So for someone to recognize you as the protege of Kobe Bryant or even the next Kobe Bryant or something like that, playing like that doesn't tell me that. Playing like that tells me you are who you are, and you're definitely not like Kobe Bryant. Not in there playing dirty and causing flagrant fouls and hurting people. And yeah, I know he's mad. His nose got broke, and the first 2 games, that nose got popped. But then he wouldn't wear the mask. He kept taking the mask off.
Exactly.
Man, listen, basketball is almost more physical than football because there's no protective gear. You're just out there and elbows are flying and feet are kicking, and it's rough. It is rough, but you don't need to make it any rougher on purpose.
No. And one other thing, because you were talking about comparisons, Giannis made a huge block in game 4, and they were kind of comparing it to game 7 in 2016, where LeBron James made that block, and they're going back and forth, and who had the better block, blah, blah, blah. And everyone was saying that it has to be LeBron, just based on it was a game 7. It wasn't a game 4. And then also what Giannis did is he went and like flexed in front of his fans instead of going back and playing defense. And people were saying after LeBron did that, he ran back and played defense. He didn't go flex in front of the crowd or anything like that. So a lot of people were saying this could that could have been the game or the momentum changer of this whole series if they end up winning. However, and it will be up there on the, everybody will be posting it. They are right now, but they'll say that this is the game that helped change the whole direction of the series.
Yeah.
I would not compare it to LeBron James.
Well, speaking of LeBron, I didn't mean to cut you off. Speaking of LeBron, he was in the stands. And that's what I love about LeBron. He is such a fan of the game. He's probably one of the most prolific players in the game right now. But he was in the fans supporting his other brothers of the game. They're none of his teammates, but they're people who he admired from afar. But LeBron was at the game, and everybody was trying to figure out who was he there to root for. Because after his last game, he signed his jersey and he gave it to Booker. But then his colors reflected that he may have been going for the Bucks because of what he had on. So everybody was trying to figure out who was he really supporting. But I'm just glad that he was there to support the game.
And he's also probably there taking some notes.
We all know LeBron is the coach on the field. He's the coach of his team. So, and speaking of that, that's kind of how I ended up going for the Bucks. They have a player, his name is Jeff Teague. Jeff Teague played for the Atlanta Hawks. Before there was a Trae Young, there was Jeff Teague. And Jeff Teague was an awesome, awesome player. And he was like Trae Young is now, where he was kind of carrying the team. He was motivated. He was energetic. He was really good. And then they traded him away. And it was so upsetting, to a lot of them. Like, why did you do that? Instead of getting him some more help, But now, this is what I always tell my kids: don't question God's work. You see why they got rid of you from the Hawks? Because you needed to be on the Bucks. Because now you're in the final.
It is so crazy that you just brought up Trae Young, because he, as of a couple days ago, there were only 6 players on Team USA, and Trae Young wasn't one of the ones that
was selected,
and he was very upset and very vocal about it. But a lot of some people were saying that they need size out there. They need people, especially against teams like Nigeria and Australia. So, and Team USA, like last week, lost 2 exhibition games, and they haven't lost 2 games in 16 years. So
they need USA has always been a force to be reckoned with.
Exactly. So they lost 2 last week, and they haven't done that for 16.
I know they wanted LeBron to go, but LeBron had already elected not to go. And then you've got, of course, Giannis and all these other guys who are on top of their game, but they're still playing. So I mean, I understand why they didn't select them, because yes, when you have these other teams from these other countries, size does matter. And that's exactly the point that they're trying to make. And with Trae Young, I think they should go ahead and bring him on. He's still needed. Go ahead and bring him. I'm always the fan of the little point guard, because that was me. So I say bring him on. Unless they feel like they got somebody else better. But Team USA has always been a force to be reckoned with in the Olympics, and people look forward to us being there. And there's no fans now anyway, but I'm pretty sure the fans would have been looking forward to seeing people like LeBron and people like Giannis and, some of the other Zion, some of the other big players of the USA. I'm pretty sure people would have been really excited to see.
Yeah. They definitely would have.
Well, speaking of that, I'll go right into mine. Of course, I also was going to talk about the NBA and the game last night. The NBA, first of all, I want to say the NBA Finals has not been a weak game, been very strong. And that man right there, Giannis, coming back from the injury. Chris Paul at 36 years old, it's kind of do or die, everybody's saying, for him. And this is his first visit in 16 years in the league. But when I tell you that these Bucks, they have messed around and let Giannis get comfortable, they get well. Holiday's getting comfortable. I don't want to move into my Olympics yet, Naomi. Holiday's getting comfortable, and the team is just getting real comfortable. So I don't know what's going to happen and how they're going to come back from behind now. And then in watching this, they've come back from behind and won three straight.
Yep.
The Bucks had. So we'll see what's going to happen next week. Phoenix haven't had any answers lately. They haven't had any answers to anything that the Bucks were presenting, and they've been up as much as 15 points. And Phoenix would try to come back, and they've come back before. But we'll just have to see what happens. Because, like I said, these gentlemen right are really putting on a great show in this, and I think that they're giving the finals, they're giving it the spark that it needed. The people are watching. You never know who's going to win, and that's what you want to see in a big game like this. Um, and like I said, we all saw Giannis's injury, but being this, and now that you mentioned LeBron, they have compared Giannis and LeBron as these two Greek gods. It's like they are two bodies to just be recognized as being phenomenal, not just talents, but muscular, fit, and bodies. They're not little tall, linky, skinny little basketball players. These guys are developed and they're built, and I think that that's what has helped Giannis to come back from that injury everybody thought he had was going to be so severe. His muscle. His muscle mass. He's a very strong guy. He's very physical. He's very strong. And I really feel like that is what happened and why that injury it didn't cause him as much damage as everybody thought it would. So
Mhm.
we're going to see by next week. We may know who the winner is of the series. The next game is on Tuesday night, I believe it is, and we'll know if they're going to go on to a game 7, or is it going to end this week with the Bucks. If the Bucks win again, that'll be it. If the Suns win, then it'll go on to another game. But it's been quite interesting. It's been quite interesting.
They didn't
My
get
next
home
topic.
too.
Yep.
So
Yeah. My next topic is the young lady I spoke about earlier. Um, we talked about her briefly. As everyone said, Naomi Osaka, who is a superstar in the sport of tennis, she opted out of the French Open a couple of weeks ago. And this was shocking news to everyone. But apparently, she was really struggling mentally. And and it was bothering her. And she's a young player, but apparently these kind of things have been bothering her for a while. But I'm glad that she took a stand. And I remember watching, they have a documentary out by her right now, which ironically, LeBron James and his movie production company has something to do with producing that project, and they talk about just kind of how she feel. And when she beat Coco, and Coco started crying because she was losing, and then Naomi started crying. She's so sensitive, and she really felt sad at being, because she remembered being that young and being there. And this picture right here says it all. She's on the cover of Time magazine, and the title reads, "It's okay to not be okay." And I think that's a message that has to go out to young people in the world, not just athletes, but just people in the world. It's okay to not be okay. But what's not okay is when you don't do something about it. And I think her withdrawing from the French Open was her doing something about it. She needed to take care of herself first, not just go out there and win games. So it was okay for her not to be okay. And I know that people like Serena Williams and athletes from around the world reached out to her when she did that, and they all said the same thing. We stand behind you. We stand behind your decision. Take care of you first. You need to be okay. And just when I look at that face and I look in her eyes, sometimes you can just see sadness. And if you watch the video that they did on her, you'll see different times where she seems like she just really doesn't want to be talked to right now. She just wants to be left alone. Now, when I saw this picture, it was very striking to me because I didn't know how tall she was.
yeah,
Venus and Serena are like 6 feet tall,
yeah,
and she's standing there looking a little taller than
yeah.
Serena. So she's actually, I guess, quite tall herself. But like I said, I'm really happy that she's taking the time out for herself because, as they said, it's okay to not be okay. But
Can I make
what's not okay is when you don't do something about it.
can I make a really quick comment about that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think we look at athletes, like specifically like pro athletes, as these like invincible people,
Mhm.
and that when somebody plays like a Tom Brady with a torn um
ACL or
yeah,
MCL, whatever. Yeah.
or any other athlete that gets injured and goes out there and sucks it up, like when Kobe tore his Achilles and went and still shot his free throws. I
Yep.
think you look at athletes and you think of them at a certain level, and that's how they should be playing, that they are invincible, and that they always push through whatever it is. And that's just kind of the culture, that stigma around athletes. And I think that when somebody does come out and say something like this, they kind of, it's, you kind of see that, oh, people talking poorly and being like, oh, well, just go do it. I mean,
Mm,
that's, and I think it's just because of the way we look at athletes and
mhm.
how they should
It's
just suck it up and do it. Go do it.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like that barbaric kind of mindset
Mhm.
where, you see the old movies and they would just put them in there to the death. It's like they
Mhm.
don't care that that's a human being that's about to die. They
Mhm.
don't care. All they care about is who's going to win the game, who's going to win the
Exactly.
sport. So,
And they miss a shot, and you're like, how could you miss that shot? You're like, there's
because I'm human.
so much like that goes into it, and you couldn't make that shot either. So they're not always perfect, they're not invincible, and they are going through stuff, and
Yeah,
it's okay. Like she said, it's okay not to be okay, even when you're an athlete and at
yeah,
that top level.
yeah.
So
It's okay not to be okay. But I'm glad that she did take a step back and, she's just looking forward to getting better and coming back. And that's what we wish nothing but the best for her.
exactly.
Yeah. So, as you all know, last week I went to WAB Sports. I went to Tennessee, to Bell Buckle, Tennessee, to Wayne Buckingham's. He had a golf classic, a golf tournament, where Mr. Wayne Buckingham um, invited out a few of his professional friends and some local people and some kids, and they all came together to raise money for his foundation. And in this time he was raising money for a local community center. So I've created a kind of a mini movie of the events for the weekend, which will air tomorrow night, Monday night at 9 p.m. On YouTube. And so you can follow me on YouTube if you go to Hattie Lemon on YouTube, my YouTube page. You'll see it tomorrow night at 9 p.m. But this is a little bit of Wayne. Wayne is just a big old soul, as you can see him. And this is just him, kind of quietly. He's a big fella, kind of quietly addressing like a lot of the people who came out to support the event.
He was on our show, right?
Yes.
Hey, Buck. Scholarship funds. What?
I call him Buck.
I truly appreciate being a part of this event. It's a scramble. We're gonna have fun. And after the golf course, we're gonna be going down to the Mexican restaurant down on the right. We're having a celebration for our 10-year anniversary. Got free food.
How many years?
10.
Man, look at that, that's a long time.
Let's give him a round of applause.
All right.
But I truly, we're very.
So, as he was saying, that was the 10-year anniversary. And there were a lot of his celebrity friends that came out. And it was a really awesome event. I really commend him on the job that he's done, raising the funds that he has for his community, and helping out the community and the kids. And 10 years he's been doing this, and so the guys respect him. They come out, they support. What I love to see is the guys play with the kids.
Yeah,
So like each one of the guys kind of was a team captain, and they got right out there. And the kids were good though. These kids weren't just little. Let me just get out there and sling a golf club. Some of those kids were hitting really, really good. So make sure you watch tomorrow night at 9, Monday night, June 19th at 9 p.m. We'll premiere the WAB Sports Golf Weekend so that everyone can kind of take a look and see what Wayne and his guys did.
I'm
So
excited. I'm
I
excited
am
to see it.
I am too, and it was a really good time. And we've got another one coming up here in Atlanta. That's going to be Mr. Otis Nixon, who was Wayne's guest. Otis Nixon, who played for the Atlanta Braves, he's going to have one here in Atlanta. So, Ladies in the Locker Room was invited to his, so we're going to go to that and get some more great footage and check out what's going on. Man, when I was there, I wanted to break out the golf clubs. I was like, I want to play. I want to play.
Yeah, for sure.
That's just the athlete in me. I was like, I just want to
Mhm.
play. Can I play? And I'm just learning golf. So trust me, them kids could beat me. But I'm not as bad as Charles Barkley used to be. He's gotten better, but I'm not that bad. But I did want to play, and I am still learning.
Exactly. Like you as an athlete, I see some type of ball or like game or anything like that. I want to go play. My
Yep,
friend had
yep.
his birthday last night, 30th birthday, and he had one of those blow up basketball you shoot, but it was blown up. 2 hoops, and I was challenging everyone at the party, and I didn't do anything else. I feel like I think I was there even shooting by myself for like 45 minutes. That's pretty bad. And I was like,
When it's in you, it's in you. When it's in you, it's in you. That's why I get it. Trust me, I get it. I was like, oh, I want to play. I want to play. I get it totally. So I could see that happening. Lindsay, both of us don't need to be at any kind of event where we'll be challenging the kids or something.
oh yeah, anybody around, I'd be like, hey, you haven't played. I haven't played against you yet. They'd be
Didn't
like,
get you yet. Come on.
come on.
Get over here.
And then if I lost, I was like, rematch. Like, we're doing it again. This time, like to 20 points. They're like, you're crazy. You're at a party.
That is
Put
too
the ball
funny.
down.
That is too funny, Lindsay. I don't, now that you mention that, I don't know if I'm that bad. I might
I'm
be.
pretty bad, yeah.
I might be.
I didn't know that was there, so I wore like the wrong shoes. It was like a 90 themed party. Wore some boots, and now I have like blisters on my toes. From just.
Wow.
I was like,
God
what did
forbid
you do?
God forbid you'd worn your tennis shoes. It would have really been on.
It would have been on. Like I'd still be there probably.
Still shooting. Still shooting.
Exactly.
Oh wow. Well, thank you everyone for joining Ladies in the Locker Room. Don't forget to stay tuned for Wayne Buckingham's WAB Sports video, which will air Monday night, June the 19th. I gotta get my dates right, at 9 p.m. And also make sure you support these different events. I'm really, Ladies in the Locker Room, we don't just cover what the guys do on the court or the ladies, what they do on the court. We also like to cover what they do off the court, such as events like this. So if you have an event and you'd like to invite the ladies in the locker room, send us an email at ladiesinTheLockerRoom@gmail.com. We would love to come out and support your event and cover your event. But until then, until next time, we are going to sign off. Lindsay, is there anything you'd like to leave the people with?
Nothing. Just thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching. See you next week.